Hey guys, it's Atheist for the Cause here, and I wanted to talk to you about Bret Weinstein and the Evergreen College. They did a quorum to the public, so people could basically go and ask questions, or not ask questions, but make statements, and the Board of Trustees would listen. And in their opening, they state that they don't have a full understanding, but they do have a partial understanding. So that's interesting. And this is also the first time they've actually spoken on campus in the year. So this is a pretty, or, been on campus. So this is pretty rare event and maybe part of the problem. But one thing I was just going to take out Bret Weinstein and, have you listen to him and comment, but really you need to listen to all these people, because when you hear all the angles, you hear, we've seen it, on video and stuff, but that is still a bit of a snapshot. You hear how crazy the people on the other side are, and, how ridiculous they think, like how brainwashed they are. It's sad. And how out of touch many of the faculty members are. And if you think this is all going to be people bashing what happened at Evergreen, they are pretty a lot of them are pretty happy about this. So they see it as part of the a step forward, not a step backwards, and pretty much endorse what happened. So let's have a listen and go from there.
Comment. We're initially starting with Ivana Trotman, and she will be followed by Ann Fischel. Ms. Trotman, would you let us know what your whether you are student, faculty, staff, or public?
Yes, I'm a career advisor here at Evergreen State College.
Thank you.
Good morning. I want to acknowledge the indigenous people of the Medicine Creek Treaty, whose land was stolen and on which the college stands. The Squawks.
This is a great way to start, isn't it? They can talk about other issues than just what happened in the I guess the spring, but man, this is a doozy of a start.
People who are the traditional custodians of this land, and pay respect to elders past and present of the Squaxin Island tribe and other native people present. I'm here on behalf of the Retention Task Force, which includes faculty, staff, and students. We've been working throughout this past academic year to develop a retention program proposal that will provide comprehensive support to underserved students. We are so thankful to Vice President Wendy Indris for her support, and to President Bridges for his commitment he made on May 26th in response.
Keep in mind, they aren't underserved in this school.
To the student demands to fund a student retention coordinator position housed in Student Academic Support Services. This position will extend the recent retention initiatives in SAS, including the creation of the Trans-Queer Center and the expansion of the new Student Mentor Program. In fall 2016, more than 75% of the undergraduate student population at Evergreen was TRIO eligible, but only 180 students were served. This means that 2,670 students were TRIO eligible, but not served due to capacity. Undocumented students, for example, can't legally be served by TRIO. We need additional supports for this
Oh, what a fucking problem.
demographic. It's imperative we match the commitment our peer institutions in Washington State have made to offer retention programs that address the fact that TRIO is structurally unable to meet the demands of our students' needs. As an institution, I believe you allocate financial resources to the things you value. Now more than ever, we need the college to make smart investments, and implementing a student-centered approach to retaining more underserved students will be a big step on the path to true equity at Evergreen State College.
So what she's talking about is like the school has a capacity. Come on. Every school has a capacity. And then, the way I interpret this is she's not going to be happy until the school's expanded and you know, all the white people are kicked out. You know, only minorities should be served.
Thank you.
Ann Fischel, followed by Pauline Yu.
Good morning. My name is Ann Fischel, and I'm a member of the faculty about to become emeritus. Thanks for the opportunity to address you. I want to say that I hope this will be the first of many opportunities to have these conversations. During the presidential search process of 2014-15, I was a member of the Agenda Committee, and we organized faculty discussions about the candidates, and I remember Board of Trustees members coming to those meetings and observing and participating, and that was really helpful to our process and hopefully to yours. It felt like it meant that we were working together. There haven't been many opportunities since then to work together, and this seems like a really urgent time to do so. So I appreciate your expressed desire to listen, but I also know this is summer. Many people are not around, and so I hope there will be more opportunities for faculty, staff, students, and alums to let you know what their experience has been of the last couple of months and of the struggles around equity on our campus. For quite some time, the faculty have been acknowledging our...
You can always tell the faculty members because they like give this huge introduction, even though you know they only have I don't know, a minute or two or whatever, and half the time is spent on this unnecessary introduction. She could have just said, I hope you come to campus more often so people who aren't here can tell you about the situation.
Our need to close equity gaps here at the college. Equity has to be central to our work, and some of the reasons that it's central to our work is because of the initiatives put forth by President Bridges, but also because of the very urgent and loud work that's been done by our students, which has really put this at the center of our attention. One of the few media pieces that clearly addresses the issues in ways that represent us accurately is an article that just appeared in our local Works in Progress. It was written by Emily Lardner, who's a member of the Equity Council and also co-director of the Washington Center for Improving Undergraduate Education, and I'm going to leave a copy of this with you in a moment. Emily cites data showing that despite our best intentions here, our teaching strategies and curriculum are not serving many of our first-generation students and students of color. We just heard Ivana's testimony about the student-initiated proposal to provide support for underserved students. This is one of many initiatives that speak to students' educational aspirations and the challenges they are facing in fulfilling them. We are hearing this issue raised all over the country, not just at Evergreen. And we heard it raised consistently by the Equity Council and throughout the May and June disruptions by the students. Students were frustrated by their experiences in their classes, as well as by institutional barriers they experienced when seeking redress. This is not the first time at Evergreen or nationally that students have taken matters into their own hands and operated outside of what we consider to be normal channels. Students take actions like this when systems of power and decision-making are inaccessible to them. They do it out of need, out of pain, and out of anger.
But the previous student told us there are actually avenues, and there are actually groups set up to help them, and this is just deflection. You know, these students are babies that have no other way to voice their concerns. Bullshit.
And sometimes in their anger, they say and do things we wish they had said or done differently. I hope we will focus on the message rather than on the way it was delivered, because the message is urgent, and responding to it will make us a better college. And in that spirit, I just want to express my... Sorry,
your time's up.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, if we can take your notes and finish your statement, we appreciate that. Pauline Yu, please. Is Pauline Yu here? If not, Alyssa Goss. Or perhaps it's Goss.
It's Goss, like boss.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds funny, doesn't it? Until wait till you hear her fucking speak, and then it's like, oh my god, it says something about her.
And you are?
My name's Alyssa Goss. I'm an alumna of Evergreen. I graduated in 2013. I then spent time as the executive director of the Washington Student Association, working with student governments and boards like yourself all across the state at public institutions. And now I'm the political director at NARAL Pro-Choice Washington, working on reproductive rights.
In other words, like full-fledged psycho.
I want to start by saying, how much I love this school. As a queer woman, I grew up in rural Texas, and Evergreen was my safe place all during high school as I waited to finally get here. But for
Oh, so, it sounds like minorities actually are served by Evergreen. Because she graduated, and she's a minority, and she said Evergreen was her safe space. So they have been doing a good job at Evergreen. And a lot of the arguments you're hearing are total bullshit.
For many students, this is not a safe place, especially for students, staff, and faculty of color. Day of absence.
Oh yeah, just for you it was a safe space, but even though it was primarily black people that took over the fucking school, yeah, they're not safe at all, right?
And day of presence, I went every year and was able to be a part of helping plan it. It was a transformative experience, and it is the basis of who I am in the world today as an Evergreen graduate. Without a basis in anti-racism and anti-oppression, we perpetuate harm as graduates with the systems and the knowledge we learn by perpetuating the very things we were so critical of in our classrooms. Having the basis...
How pathetic is this? Like, she's literally saying that she is nothing without fighting for equality. Just think about that. If she loses this war, like this culture war that she's perpetuating, her life means nothing to her. That's what she's saying. This is actually like pretty scary stuff. And I mean, I'm not going to go further than that, but I think you have an idea of what I'm thinking.
Of how to work with people interpersonally, how to engage in institutions, and how to change our communities and culture is what it means to be an Evergreen graduate. But if it doesn't come with the basis of anti-racism and anti-oppression, we hurt people.
Yeah, so, you might not want to oppress white people by saying, saying they can't come to campus. Having a white absent day. That's kind of oppressive, isn't it? Because white students literally can't go to school and learn. And white teachers literally can't teach their students. Huh. Kind of sounds like oppression.
I ask you for 3 things. 1, continue to commit to listen and respond to student, staff, and faculty of color demands. A high tide lifts all boats, and we lose nothing by ensuring people of color are respected, honored, and centered. And we have...
Oh yeah, so when people literally take over the fucking school, continue to listen to them, even though they're being completely fucking unreasonable. And just cave into whatever they want.
Everything to gain. Any discomfort, especially white discomfort, and any outside pressure, and I understand there's a lot of outside pressure, is only part of the necessary and painful transformation of ourselves, our institution, and our nation that we are undergoing right now.
See, like, this is what gets to me. She's actually viewing, discomfort of white people, I guess is how she's wording it, as like some sort of indication that things are going in the right direction. The more white people are uncomfortable, the more progress is being made in her mind. It's disgusting.
Right now, this transformation is everywhere, and it is part of an historical pattern of higher ed. Higher ed has always been on the nexus of social change.
Yep, that's the other thing. You always hear is that, oh, this is social change, and it's always been up to the universities to create social change. This is not a safe environment. This is regression. This is not progress. I mean, this is literally like Alabama, back in the day basically pre-segregation, even, where you're or early segregation, I should say, where you're literally saying like white people should leave campus for certain days, and we should cave into all the minorities and care about the minorities but not care about the white people. It's like the early days of segregation.
2, do not spend any institutional resources, money, or time on punitive actions against student protesters, staff, and faculty.
Think about what she's saying. Don't go after people who broke the law. That's what she's saying.
Protests are to Evergreen what football is to WSU. It's not going anywhere, and protests are part of our fabric. Protesting as a student was part of my educational experience.
Okay, so if a football player at WSU did something wrong and broke the law, should they not be punished? If they went and did something especially wrong in the school, and say the football team went and shut down the school to like a certain group of people, should they not be punished? Of course they should be punished. So it doesn't matter that even if, if they are comparative to football players at WSU, that they should still be punished, these protesters.
I wish I had at least 2 credits in it. 3rd, I challenge all of us, you and everyone in this room and beyond, to think about what it will look like to center people of color in our lives, in our community, and what it will look like that we all gain by centering their experience and their pain. I ask us to ask ourselves,
are they gonna center me in their lives? Because I'm white, but I don't belong. I'm white, so they don't have to center me, right? But I have to center them in my life, because I should pick my friends based on skin color, right? It shouldn't be based on who I have fun with and agree with, or even if I disagree with them but get along with them. It shouldn't be just people I get along with in general, and have similar interests and hobbies with. No, it should be people who are of a different skin color than me, I should put on a fucking pedestal.
These questions. Am I centering whiteness, or am I centering the people of color that I care about so deeply in my life?
Or am I fucking centering people that I get along with and care about without fucking picking a group? It's like the idea of individualism. She's got no concept of it. Full-blown psycho.
Who am I listening to? Who am I valuing? Who am I saying, I want to be in right relationship with you? Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Prouty.
Good morning. I'm Carolyn.
And that was an alum. So that's what the type of person this school is creating.
Carolyn Prouty. Thank you very much for setting aside this time to listen and for your ongoing work in support of Evergreen.
And Dr. Prouty, you are a faculty, correct?
I am a faculty member and I teach public health and health sciences in the Olympia daytime curriculum.
Thank you.
And I also chaired the search committee for the vice president and vice provost for equity and inclusion, our inaugural vice president. The main messages I want to convey to you are these 3. What happened on our campus is an expression of the increased attention to social and racial justice that is happening all over our country, particularly on college campuses. Our students acted out of their experiences and out of their commitment to learning, and to make Evergreen a better place for every student we welcome.
Wait, they shut down the fucking school for their commitment to learning? Like, if you were a board member of trustee here, and you didn't like really live on the campus or visit it, you just hear things about it. I mean, you're hearing these people talk, you're getting this side of the story, and then you're getting the other side of the story, and they're so different. Like, you probably think it's somewhere in the middle, right? Except no, these people are like lying so badly that, and the other side is like telling the truth, pretty much. There's actually I forgot exactly what it's called, but it's basically the fallacy of the middle, where you hear two sides and you just pick the middle and say, oh, that must be closest. And it's like, this is a great example of why you can't just pick the middle of two sides, and why that actually is a fallacy, because the people on this side are like giving complete bullshit. You don't commit to learning by shutting a school down. You don't commit to learning by, you know, kicking a group of people, in this case white people, off campus for a day.
Welcome here. As I've said to innumerable friends in our community, of course this happened at Evergreen. We're a place where every day students are learning to use their voices to affect change.
See, she's embracing it. Full fucking psycho. All these people are psycho. This is like some mass psychotic movement.
2, what happened is also an expression of the leadership of President Bridges, demonstrated from the moment he took the stage at commencement to declare that we were going to address racial equity on our campus. President Bridges' strong leadership in creating the Equity Council and the position of the new Vice President for Equity and Inclusion has already benefited and will continue to benefit Evergreen. The work toward equity and inclusion was and is not proceeding fast enough for our students and frustrates them and staff and faculty as well.
Okay, think about this. Let's act in the best spirit. Let's just say that's true. And, you know, we'll give you your entire fucking argument. Well, how do you actually know what the correct rate is? Like, it doesn't even really make sense to say this. She's spouting bullshit that sounds good to some, but when you really think of the ideas behind them, like, there's basically no progress she would accept, is there? Or if there is some sort of line on the way up that she would expect, instead of just wanting to magically jump up, you know, overnight, well, then how would you measure to compare, you know, the proper line up to how the school is actually operating?
A frustration clearly fueled by what is happening in our nation and our city, as well as on our campuses.
Deflection.
Finally, moving forward, it is critical that we all, including the board, I submit, thoughtfully and strategically choose the narratives that we tell about what happened. We are now in the time of sense-making. That is what I hear that you are here to do today. And ongoingly, I want to advocate that each of us, all of us.
I just thought, why would we now be in this time of sense making? Wouldn't you try to sense make the whole fucking time, like before all of this shit went down, while all of this shit went down, and right after all this shit went down? I mean, what do you mean now is the time for sense making? That's so fucking
strategically
stupid.
And thoughtfully choose to listen, find, and tell the stories of what happened, stories that understand social change to be messy and righteous, difficult and necessary.
This sounds like a fucking religion.
And to proudly continue to create and learn the new paths that we are all on toward truly equitable, inclusive excellence in student learning at Evergreen. There are powerful, empowering stories to tell, true stories about students who value their education and took steps to ensure that this campus lives up to its promises and its mission. True stories about our president who successfully used multiple strategies from de-escalation to...
Yep, blame the fucking president. President Trump, it's your goddamn fault that Evergreen went to shit.
Taking decisive actions to begin to address the structural and institutional changes we need to support student learning and eliminate barriers and to close the real equity gaps our students called our attention to. There are layers and layers and layers of complexity that simply will not find their way into our stories unless we seek them. It was wildly frustrating to live this story from the inside while reading and watching the bizarre alternative universe being described by the media. Please learn about the many different...
Remember, what's being described by the media in the alternative universe, like, has stemmed from literal video. It's not like something was made up. Something was filmed, not even by Bret Weinstein. It was filmed by, like, a student, I believe it was, around, you know, that by an actual protester. And a lot of the video that has come, and it's not just that video, a lot of the video that has come out is from the actual protesters themselves. And then there have been, you know, some not crazy students that have talked about it that I've listened to, and they're like, yeah, the school's fucking crazy. So, but you know, the people who are this far gone, they don't understand, like, that people are living around them that don't agree with them, but they're like scared to speak out because of what will happen to them. So they just stay quiet, and they'll like just try to agree so that their grades don't get impacted. And then these people think, oh, you know, everybody agrees with me.
Different ways that different students, staff, and faculty experienced and understand what happened, and then help us to tell the stories that empower our work going forward.
She really wants revisionist history. That's what she wants. This fucking evil bitch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Kaufman, please.
By the way, you know, those last two speakers are part of the reason I didn't want you to, like, only hear Bret Weinstein. Like, you know, you can see what he's dealing with.
Yes, right. Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Steve Kaufman. I am a student here, a senior, for lack of... Anyways, my concern is the leadership and communication this college has shown during these events. There's no question that there is actual equity gaps and problems across the country. There is no question that we are living in a time of great racial and social strife. Those I don't think are up for debate. What I do think is up for debate is a lack of cohesive, immediate leadership demonstrated by the college during these events, a lack of demonstrable quality communication and damage control by the college. There has been a lack of anything that is demonstrable to the community, the college, and the nation as a whole of any action being taken by Evergreen except to placate a limited part of a limited side of one single political spectrum. The college is not representing everybody here. They are representing a small portion of the college, and that does not even necessarily represent all of the groups that they claim to support. I have a background in sales and marketing, and quite frankly, I have been cringing during this whole time. You guys hired a marketing firm. I likened it to hiring a propaganda firm. There needs to be a much more visible set of leadership and communication rather than essentially being silent and letting everybody else speak for the college instead of letting the college speak for itself and doing its job.
Thank you. Mackenzie Kiger.
He just laid into the school. You hired a media firm that's equivalent to a propaganda firm. I'd like to know more about that, why he said that.
My name is Mackenzie, and I'm a current student at Evergreen.
I wanted to mention, you know, and this goes back to the first speaker too. A lot of the problem here is that they see inequity throughout the country, and then they want to, like, you know, they have control of Evergreen State College. So they want to, like, eliminate that inequity, like, with the power that they have. So the power they have is basically, you know, say, I don't know how big the school is, but say it's a couple thousand students. And so if they make all of the whole college a minority college, well, that only puts a small dent into, you know, the nation inequality nationwide. So if you think about it like that, it's like extremely immoral to say kick out all the white people. But that, if you look at it, because in that college, you know, that's discrimination. But if you look at it on the macro national scale, in their head, it's just a step forward towards, you know, equality. So it's they have a really warped version based on scope.
My biggest concerns with directly what's been happening this past spring are the lack of viewpoint diversity, and which is one of my biggest concerns, that if you have offer any sort of alternative viewpoint, which I do have, and you're kind of the enemy. I don't agree with the behavior that has been shown on the campus, and unlike what Anne Fischel has said, I think it is important to focus on the way this was handled.
Boom, call her out. That's absolutely fucking correct. You have to focus on what happened here and how they're going about things. You absolutely have to.
Totally understand that people are upset, but I don't think this was handled in the right way at all. And this behavior has actually been encouraged, and because of this, I feel like people are becoming more violent, and the campus is becoming more of an unsafe place. I have been to several meetings to speak. I've been told several times that I'm not allowed to speak because I'm white. This school seems to focus so much on race that is actually becoming more racist in a different sort of way. And because I say that, because I choose not to focus on race, I have actually been labeled a racist and a white supremacist. And if anyone took the time to actually know me, it's not true at all. But that's what I've been labeled as. Another issue I have is with the social contract.
Just think about, she's obviously nervous, but she's doing a great job, because just think about like how perfectly this matches like all of the other social justice shit you see all over. It's amazing how they have such a machine. It produces the same results all over. Unfortunately, those results are horrendous. Imagine if this machine could be used for actual good, and how much good they would have been producing, because they've produced so much bad. It's just sad.
Which people read when they choose to come here, and they agree to it by coming here. There have been so many violations to the social contract in the events that have happened, and it has been completely disregarded, and instead of actually doing something about the fact that it's been violated, we're changing it. And it's a small group working on this with only one viewpoint.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? It's like a bunch of people break the law and then just change the law because it's being broken. Now, if it's an unjust law, that can make sense, but I mean, you all went to this college agreeing that on these rules, and now people are just breaking them, and it seems for no other reason than because these rules are being broken. They want the rules to be changed.
And not getting alternative viewpoints to help out with revising the social contract. And they're gonna change it or revise it, and a lot of people may not agree with that. People who have already agreed to the one that we have currently, and I don't think I agree with that. I have also...
She didn't do a very good job stating that, but all she's saying, obviously, is that they're going to change it to fuck her over and fuck over a large percentage of the people, and a large percentage of the people aren't going to have any say. So there's like this small group that protested, and now that small group of protesters is going to get to make all of the new rules. That's not fucking fair at all.
Talked to several legislators and people who work for Senator Patton, and it seems like they don't have a clear understanding of what's going on as well. And from what I have heard from them, it would seem as though George Bridges may not be completely truthful with what's going on here in regards to safety, because...
Your time's up.
Okay.
Thank you.
She's calling. That was interesting. She called out names of politicians, and you know, these people are whispering. She definitely caught their attention on that.
Bret Weinstein.
Are you ready?
Hi, thank you for this opportunity to
Because shit's about to hit the fan.
speak. I'm a faculty member here. Let me say, I think you probably all know that I've tried to reach the board privately so that I could discuss what I believe I know has taken place on this campus with you, not in a public forum, and that has come to nothing, so I find myself talking to you here. I also know people who know you all personally, and I'm told and I believe that you are all well-intentioned and that you have the best interests of the institution at heart. And the problem is that knowing that about you and knowing what I do about what's taken place here, I'm forced to conclude that you must not fully understand what has happened, because if you did fully understand what has happened, you would be forced to act in the interest of Evergreen.
See, now this is an introduction like faculty normally gives, but this one really does set, it really is with a purpose. It really does set the ground for what he's about to say and ties it all together. And, you know, he's being friendly, but there is like a critical tone to this at the same time. So I think he's doing a great job with potentially trying to get through to them. Because remember, this is a persuasive moment. You don't just want to go and yell at them, because then they're not going to listen to you.
So in that light, I want to just simply pose some questions to you about things that I think you need to know that perhaps you don't. Do you know that the college descended into literal anarchy, and that for days the campus was not under the control of the state? It was under the control of protesters. That there were assaults, there were batteries, there was pressure not to report crimes to the police. People were, by the legal definition, I believe, kidnapped and imprisoned. That included faculty members and administrators. Others were hunted on the campus. That lawless bands roamed the campus unimpeded. Police were physically and intentionally blocked by protesters.
And keep in mind, while he's saying this, remember the other woman who said that we should continue to listen to these protesters and we should not go after them, or when I say we, I mean the college, and the college should not go after them punitively.
Police were cruelly, systematically, and personally taunted. They were humiliated and forced to stand down by the president. Students that held different opinions were, by the protesters' own analysis, stalked, harassed, and doxxed, meaning that their names, pictures, and addresses and phone numbers were distributed online. Do you know that concessions made under intimidation and threat during the protest are now being enacted by the college? That includes mandatory bias training for all faculty. This has come about by an agreement between the faculty union, the administration, and protesters. It was not discussed with the faculty. The student code of conduct is now being revised in response to demands by those in violation of that very code. Do you know that although the code of conduct is supposed to protect all of us, that Dr. Bridges decided to selectively suspend it, giving some students license to threaten others based on their participation in the protest? Do you know that the Equity Council, only 25% of which are active faculty, exceeded its charge by proposing a revamp of our college hiring process, that it sought to force the college's acceptance of its sweeping proposal, that it constructed the proposal to limit faculty autonomy, this is by the admission of members of the council within a faculty meeting, and that it wished to avoid discussion with the faculty. That was also admitted in a faculty meeting by a member of the council.
That's pretty damning, to wish to avoid discussion.
Do you know that we as a faculty never discussed the equity proposal? That was despite the clear hazard it poses to the college's ability to remain solvent. Do you know that the equity proposal is predicated on a quantitative analysis that finds equity gaps, but the analysis cannot withstand scrutiny and would likely be considered fraud if presented in a scientific paper? That it was challenged internally and that critics were silenced? Did you say my time is up? That the flawed analysis makes the
He got the 30 seconds.
remedies that have been proposed effectively permanent, and that the council knows this, one of its chairs having said during the rollout that equity at Evergreen cannot be achieved. It must be perpetually pursued. I guess my time's up. Sure.
And they asked for his papers and notes.
Van Lynn Ramses.
Hi, so I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Van Lynn Ramsey. I'm also one of the students who were selected to be on the Equity Advisory Board. I heard that it's of utmost importance for Evergreen to implement policies of equity, and it was mentioned in passing because there are issues with retention and gaining students locally and out of state because of the issues on campus. The movements that have happened are largely understood by the Board of Trustees and people higher up in the state. And so I think it's of utmost importance for students who decided to be participated within the Equity Council be given a voice and a position to have people to speak to, so everyone can understand the narrative, so we can all work together. Because everyone's goal is to have an equitable campus. I heard that one of the victories that we won were for teachers to have diversity training and sensitivity training, which is not a loss by anybody's vision. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, we should listen to us. You guys should listen to us because it's important for you to understand the narrative. And I guess she used to work there. I don't know if she said she still works for the equity, but it's just come on, you got to hear all sides. That's what they're doing now. They're hearing all sides. And then for you to say that nobody is at a loss for having to go through quote-unquote sensitivity training and things like that is well, people who don't agree with that they should have to do that are at a loss. I mean, you're making decisions for other people and then claiming that there's no loss for anybody else. You're in a complete fucking echo chamber.
That if these conversations were to continue, that students who have taken lead and been selected to...
And keep in mind, Bret Weinstein said that they admitted they weren't interested in discussion. But now here, what's their narrative? Oh, we should continue to talk. No, you guys haven't been talking. You guys are the ones who are not talking. People from these equity groups are these protesters as well. They're the ones that are not talking. They're shutting everything down.
Be on the Equity Council, be given the opportunity.
I said talking as in discussing, because they do a lot of talking actually and shouting. They don't do any listening.
To meet with you all and continuously have conversations so we can work for the best interest in the college. There are a lot of things that aren't addressed, such as student homelessness, the lack of opportunity for students to have jobs while on campus. All these things affect retention rates and success of students, and I think it's very important to listen to the specific demands instead of giving into the hype that paints students in a dangerous light that also led to innocent students being doxxed, harassed, stalked as well, including...
They're not innocent.
...myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gotta get that
Shelley Robbins.
Gotta get that victim narrative in there.
Hi, my name is Shelley Robbins. I'm an alumna. I graduated in '93. I don't think I could say anything better than what Ms. Goss said. And
Goss the boss, right? Goss like boss, that's what she said.
You said it so well, I just couldn't say it any better. But
Then get off the fucking microphone. I mean, this is what bothers me. There's only like 2 minutes or whatever to speak, and half her time's gonna be drooling over what someone else said. Well, if you don't have anything unique to say and you can't put it any better, get off the fucking microphone. Let somebody else speak.
I came here today to say that I watched the video of Professor Weinstein, like a lot of people did, talking to the students. And what he said is that what they were doing would only create a temporary reversal.
I don't know why the video is shitty, sorry, but can't do anything about it. You'll just have to listen.
A fortune. And those are his exact words. And I feel like it'd be good for him to stay here and learn what can really happen with change, because he's got a long ways to go. And I understand that this is all about whether or not he's really a good fit for this campus. He said he's been teaching for 15 years that racism is in our genes. I'm not sure how people of color feel about sitting in a classroom and being told that. But those are the things that I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
So she took the microphone to personally attack somebody else and then drool over how how another person who already spoke said it better than they could say it. Well, that was a complete fucking waste of time.
Alice Nelson, please.
You know what I think that does? I just think it shows these people, like, look at the way he's sitting. I think it shows them how fucking lost some of these students are, and faculty and alumni. It's really from all of them. If you really look at the positions, it's not just students now that were protesters or whatever. It's not just former students and alumni. It's not just faculty. It's all of them.
Pardon me? Okay. Shani Blank? Shani Blank here? Shani? Sorry. Not here? Zoltan Grossman?
Good morning. I'm Zoltan Grossman, faculty in Geography and Native Studies. I think we should all be aware of how higher education, liberal arts higher education in particular, is being targeted by the far right nationally, and how inevitably Evergreen would be.
Okay, so Bret Weinstein has been a huge focus of all of this. And he's not far right at all. This is not a left versus right issue. Bret Weinstein considers himself to be a progressive. He's pretty much far left. He's just not so far left that he's crazy like you idiots.
Set in the sights of movements like that. And to not forget in the media coverage.
And just think about how bigoted this is. Oh, they're far right, so we shouldn't listen to them. They're far right, so they're discredited inherently.
And what the Board of Trustees is saying is that we were threatened with a massacre, a school shooting on campus by the far right. There was a far right rally that was not by libertarian conservatives, but I've been doing a lot of documentation. I've been working on this kind of research for 30 years, and these were Nazis from Portland. And they're the ones, that movement has been the ones behind these systematic racist death threats and hate mail that have affected students, staff, and faculty of color, and others. Our former provost wrote 2 articles, 5,432 words, and didn't use one word to even mention any of those threats. So I urge you to look at both sides and look at the full context. Fear makes people do things that they regret later, perhaps.
So he's saying, I mean, he's talking about how Nazis from Portland are coming down and targeting faculty members. Well, most of the protesters were students. So that doesn't explain the situation at all. And it also doesn't give them a pass for doing something, you know, say they were targeted by Nazis or whatever. That doesn't mean that they can just go do anything and create new victims. And it's quite clear that what happened here is based on like an actual ideology of where they want to put white people down. That ideology doesn't stem from Nazis. It's, you know, it's not a counter argument to Nazis. This is a full fucking ideology that's happening nationwide. So no, your explanation here is bullshit.
Suspension is not going to change that. Lessening the level of fear and the level of and heightening the level of inclusion will lessen future confrontations. We're often told that liberal arts education is about being open to listening to all perspectives. The problem is
yeah, I hope you don't endorse that, because you've already told us that you know, people are you know, a lot of this is being pushed by the far right.
Is that the perspectives of students, staff, and faculty of color have not been listened to for many years. And when people are not listened to, they get angry.
That's bullshit. The lesbian girl, or she called herself queer, I guess, she said she graduated in 2013, and Evergreen was her safe space. So, I mean, she must have been listened to if it was her safe space.
And I hope that you urge the next provost to do a lot more listening than talking. Because the only time we hear about incorporating others' perspectives is when one white faculty member objects to what has been talked about for years and years or even decades. I think there's also an ideological message that we heard earlier, that we've heard from both Bret Weinstein, from Michael Zimmerman, and that is that identity politics is somehow the new enemy that divides people, and that we
yeah, I fucking wonder why identity politics. This guy is so incredibly stupid. Yeah, why does identity politics divide people? Why is that an argument? And why would dividing people make something the enemy? I wonder why.
We should set aside race, not deal so much with race. And I think we should keep in mind that there's not a contradiction between identity politics and focusing on issues like race and gender and unifying people around their common goals. I think there's no better example of that than a former member.
There's a contradiction between individualism, which you don't seem to have a concept of, and identity politics.
Of this board, Billy Frank Jr., who fought hard for the identity politics, the treaty rights of his people, but build bridges to the rest of the community around common environmental and economic concerns. Given a choice between the perspective of Billy Frank Jr. in building this college in a balanced way, including all the voices and including all those perspectives, and the perspective of Bret Weinstein, that we should somehow narrow our focus.
What about the white girl who is a student here and at Evergreen and said that she has an alternative viewpoint from the school's mainstream narrative, and she feels like the enemy and the other? She does. Now these protesters who have the identity politics side, they get into these huge groups and protest and shut the school down and all of that. They clearly feel safe. They clearly have power. I mean, it's ridiculous that the woman, she doesn't seem to have a whole lot of power. She's told she can't speak because she's white. So yeah, if you want to be inclusive of all sides, you should be against the protesters, not for them.
And not include so much about some issues. That's something that liberal arts would never do. They would never set aside anything. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the people we have who've signed up. I want to thank everyone for sharing your insights and your thoughts with us. You may have noticed we don't engage in dialogue. It's our policy to listen to public comment and then to discuss it among ourselves and weigh what you had to say. But it's a learning experience for us, and we appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I had, as board secretary for the year ending June 30th, I was in receipt of 2 letters that I'd like to introduce into the record since they seem to be germane. One is from James Brooks Davis, dated June 7th. The other is anonymous, but signed as an Evergreen graduate June 6th, and so I'll ask they be appended to the record of these proceedings.
Very good, thank you. And I want to encourage also folks here and beyond to submit additional written statements to the board, and we will take them into account as well. So thank you, everyone. Before we go into executive session, I wanted to announce the fact that we are going into executive session pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, RCW 4230-110, to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency in litigation or potential litigation and to review the performance of a public employee. We will be in executive session for the next 2 hours unless we've notified you all that that amount of time will be extended. Then no final action will be taken in executive session. Thank you.
So the thing here is, Evergreen's actually on the verge of losing, and they may end up losing funding from the federal government, because you can't, this is when it's actually appropriate for the government to defund a school, because we're all paying in, and you know, students, if they're not allowing certain groups of students to speak and even be on campus, and you know, yet the taxpayer money is coming from the entire country to go towards that, you know, that's not what the country stands for, and everybody should have the right to speak if it's public money. So here we have a situation where there's a legitimate reason to defund this school, and I don't think that, you know, these far left crazy people understand that. And I have some hope that the board will see things Bret Weinstein's way, but you never know. These people could be crazy, and I haven't looked into each one of them myself. So, but that's just what I think Bret Weinstein did the best, and some overall, I think the people who were on the crazy side showed their crazy side, and so we'll just have to see what happens. But this was an interesting quorum, so I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you enjoyed it.